story is the history of the book, and one story is this Jesus-like entity coming to warn us, and one story is someone warning people of the horrors that happened in some other planet or dimension or something with this anti-god. And, you know, I think that would be a hell of an idea.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see, and also, I mean, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I would love to see too, just that I would like a VHS type moment of the year number 1999, where I'm assuming the anti-god or the son of the anti-god has come out of the church, where they sent it back in time. They beamed it because if you go faster than light speed, speed of light, it can go backwards.
Like Superman did in comic books, like in the 70s.
And I'd love that explanation, but that was a very startling visual, John. I would love to see that. Like a VHS clip, like similar to the one in the Raid 2, but it's the anti-god. It's a very... you know how he did that? He filmed it on a VHS player, on a camera, then he put it on a VHS tape on a TV, then he filmed that to make it look like a dream.
Oh, I can see that. Extra gritty.
Yeah, that's how low budget he went on this, which I love. But no, I would love to see that story, and I see it. Just, you know, Jesus coming to Earth as an alien. The Brotherhood of Sleep. Like, why did they erase that? Who is this person? And like you said, I mean, you know what's crazy? This movie is kind of about the devil's in the details, right? It's in the subatomic particles, and that's what the subatomic particles, that's what this movie is too. It's in the details of it. Because if you just watch it superficially, you probably won't. You'll have hokey fun with it, but you won't. And, okay, another thing. This movie never comes across as precious to me. We watch a lot of horror movies, and you know how the ending of some horror movies just feel very precious? Where...
Sure. Like the ending of The Thing. I mean, you've seen it 20 times, and you love it every time. Oh. With that ending, you get the tingles, you mean?
I guess what I'm saying precious is very not earned. Like, at the end, there's a twist, and then you realize that it's been... the ghost of John Deere the entire time, and they winks as he walks away from you, and it's not earned. It's just a hokey twist ending, or something that's not earned. I think this movie earns it. Like, it never gets its it's never cute in the way it gets its dialogue across, or it's almost subtle. The quick conversations, it's very. I'm not thinking of the right word.
No, it's very. It's not just grounded in concept. It is what no movie really is, and that is that it's grounded in delivery. It is not all these really interesting notions that we're discussing about, like a priest realizing religion is a lie. If you aren't really paying attention, you miss that. Whereas normally a revelation like that in a movie like Stigmata, like they are staging that scene. It is building with the music before that particular reveal, and then it goes da-da-da! Yeah. And they're letting you know that something serious just happened, and you're like, oh, okay, that must be this. Whereas, it just kind of passes. You don't feel like anything is of exceptional importance. But then again, there are 20 such moments that are like that, not just a couple big reveals. So it's almost like conscientiously, if your attention blinks, you're going to miss it. It's not relying on staging. It's not playing its audience for a fool. It is giving the credit of intelligence to his audience, and even the smartest horror movies, even these fantastic films. Like if you look at a movie like Get Out, right, or the original Halloween, pick any of your favorites. The fact is I'm not saying that they think that the audience is stupid. I'm not. But they are very clearly staging everything that's important that they want you to know. And this film is doing that with almost nothing.
Yeah.
Very, very few moments. I feel like one of the only real moments is when Pizza Face is trying to reach for her father. Now take all the action with Donald Pleasence apart, but when it starts to pull the hand out, they went a little devilish with it, but it's this big red hand with black talons. Right. I think of things like that. But like that scene with the reaching into the void, and of course the very end connecting to that, the last scene, which I loved, it makes me think like Inception ripped it off. But so those scenes, they really did that. They really staged that. But of course that was also the notion of the movie, the crossing over worlds, the realization of this anti-god. So it makes sense that those things got all that attention. It's 7 million years old. That was said in passing. Like, is there an extra Diet Coke in the fridge?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like.
Yeah, can I have one of those crackers? Yeah, here you go.
Oh no, it must be wrong. What do you mean it's wrong? It says it's 7 million years old. It's like, oh yeah, whatever. That was whereas normally in a movie where that happens, someone will be like, wait, 7 million years old? That's impossible. Now we're going to go check the data. Oh gosh, it really is 7. What? Don't you understand what this means? That's what would happen in a movie. Normally, they would. Again, I'm not saying that these other movies are playing the audience as fools, but in filmmaking, you are staging it. You're taking your audience on this journey, and you want some flag posting to identify the things that are important to you for them to invest in this movie. This movie doesn't do that. This movie, it's rare, this kind of delivery, and I actually really appreciate it. But there's so much going on that if you did flag post it, there would need to be a scene justifying the 7 million years old, even if it was just 90 seconds. There would be a scene for it, you know? I was never even thought of this as I was watching it, too. This is kind of funny.
Yeah, no, I love it. Hey, how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, I got a question to ask you. You ready for that?
Oh, I'm going to brace myself, because we've been asking about 800 questions about this
All right,
movie.
we'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And there's a lot more to tackle, John. Like, what good movies have you watched recently? And why is that wall so hard to get through? There's a lot of, this is a wall-heavy movie, John. That wall. Woo. But we've tackled this to a certain extent, but can you give me an answer in 20 words or less about why? I know some people, when you talked about watching this, they said this is Carpenter's best film. Mainstream-wise, this is not. Because if you're a horror hound, you're going to watch it for the horror and you're not going to dig it. But if you're watching it casually, you'll miss a lot of the really interesting bits that aren't thrown in your face. So why do you think this is one of Carpenter's, it's like the cult classic of his cult classics. It's not one of his more mainstream ones. Do you think that's because he had the freedom to do what he wanted, and then that led to a sort of a tiny mishmash of tones, which maybe alienated some people? Why do you think this is a movie that it's up there with his best works, but it's not considered by the mainstream? Let's say not horror movie bubbles. So yeah, I'd
say that the short answer is terrible death scenes and squirt gun zombies. But really, that isn't alone. I don't like using the word blame, because I don't think this movie has a fault to be identified. But if we were to blame something, I don't necessarily think that is to blame. I think it is more the notion that, again, this is a cerebrally crafted film, and I believe if you weren't being excited by a concept that you stopped to think about during the movie, when were you excited during this movie?
Me?
Yes.
Well, at the very beginning, when Victor Wong is lecturing his students.
Concepts.
Just that, like, the beginning. I love the concepts that he brings. You know, wind is there, but we can't see it. Take everything you know about what you know and throw it out the window. I remember just, I'm watching this scene, and I don't even remember that from the other times. I own this movie. I don't even remember when I bought it, John. But I've watched it before. And just watching it again, just hearing him talk about wind. Like, you know, wind is blowing, you can't see it, but it's there. And just lecturing his students about, you know, logic collapsing on a subatomic level. You're just thinking to yourself, this is a different type of picture. These are different protagonists than what we're used to.
I love those things, but I think that what general audiences respond to as a good movie are the thrills and excitement that comes from what you saw, not from what people say. And I think that is where this movie suffers. And even though suffers in terms of its rapport with the general horror, the casual horror viewers community, if you will. I think the big horror fans, I hope that there's a lot more love for it. Again, the set design. I compare it to Indiana Jones when we get that subterranean kind of temple with the swirling canister. Now that scene looks gorgeous. To me, that's thrilling because I love things like that in movies. I think most people watching the movie are like, oh, that looks cool. Okay, what's about to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And then not much happens. I think that's it, is that the peaks from action are non-existent for most viewers. Like, what's the most exciting action? Donald Pleasence clumsily axe fighting Pizza Face?
Yeah. A great decapitation.
Honestly, trying to break through a wall to escape a closet to get away from some evil touched zealots is one of the high points of the action-based excitement of this movie.
A nice biting scene.
Right. So I think that's what hurts it in terms of a casual moviegoer saying, gosh, that was a great horror movie. I think that they're not cueing in to what Professor Birak is saying in the beginning. That's this mystical science. I think that they're thinking like, okay, if this was important, it would be like Timothy Olyphant in the classroom in Scream 2, and there would be something witty, and there would be this repartee between the professor and the student. And again, it would be staged. It would be revealed that this is important because you'd be telling us by staging. And I think that Victor Wong up there lecturing and the students' faces in a way are subtle staging, right? They're cueing us that this monologue is interesting and we're paying attention and not just, getting up to get a soda, if you will, in the kitchen. But that's not the excitement that I think that gets people going. I think that what gets people going is when there's an announcement that says, school's been canceled because there was a murder in town and now there's a curfew. And then Matthew Lilliard's like, oh, we're going to totally have a murder party and Scream, like, and you're like, oh gosh, something cool's going to happen. And people get riled up from that. So again, in a way, I think that this movie's best qualities in our eyes are what make it overall viewed negatively by a casual viewer.
You make a great point about the teaching scene. In Scream 2, it's very contrived. I mean, great point. Like, it's just people bouncing around with very written it's good, it's knowledgeable, and it's cheeky, and it's supposed to be. But this is weird, but I read a book by Jay Chandrasekhar, the director of Super Troopers, Club Dread. Puddle Cruiser. So their first film was a comedy. What they found was they didn't begin the film with a big comedy bit, so people were losing interest in the beginning. So they would do a stand-up routine before the film started to get people laughing before they played the film. And so we learned an important lesson. When he did Super Troopers, he had the chase in the beginning. You boys like Mexico? Get you into it. In Scream, you have the death of Drew Barrymore. In Get Out, what Lakeith Stanfield is taken, correct? He's walking in the beginning. You start a horror film off with a boom, a death, a kill, wake up screaming, a dream sequence. You get the audience's heart pumping.
Provocative origin.
Exactly. The beginning of Halloween. What this movie did was it just sort of it doesn't quite take you. It starts with this mystery and builds into it. There's no big kicker. There's nothing that really just injects you with, this is what I'm ready for. And I appreciate it. I find it almost thrilling that it doesn't have an opening murder. Alice Cooper killing somebody in the beginning or eating bugs. Like, it leads you into it very maturely. And it's refreshing almost to me that it doesn't feel the need to immediately hook people. Like it's interesting. And the movie was a success, but I do think that's why it's kind of, like you said, the reason we love it is maybe the reason a lot of people don't enjoy it. And I'm telling you, I always just thought this was a fun, hokey movie, John. I really did. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not, I guess the older you get, but I appreciate it much more now.
A really fair comparison to that is that I used to say that Halloween sucks. Don't get mad at me, Mark. But I used to say Halloween sucks. Whereas now I look at it like I'm going through an art museum. And even though that art isn't the style that I like today, I see the importance and its influence. And I sit back and I watch it with a reverence. And like Black Christmas, I remember when I first saw that, I thought it was terrible. I actually I actually feel badly about the review I put on the website. but I mean, I speak to its importance, but overall, my review